Hi, I'm Dr. Kevin Mailo, and you're listening to the Physician Empowerment Podcast. At Physician Empowerment, we're focused on transforming the lives of Canadian physicians through education and finance, practice transformation, wellness, and leadership. After you've listened to today's episode, I encourage you to visit us at PhysEmpowerment.ca, that's PhYS, empowerment.ca, to learn more about the many resources we have to help you make that change in your own life, practice, and personal finances. Now on to today's episode. Hi, I'm Dr. Kevin Mailo, one of the co-founders of Physician Empowerment and one of our podcast hosts. And today I am very excited to introduce to you Dr. Jordan Vollrath. Jordan is a family physician based out of Calgary who has developed, if you haven't heard of it yet, you will, Cherry Health, which is an online platform, online app that allows physicians to connect with different locum services. So Jordan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are in your career, what you do right now clinically, and then share a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, for sure. So thanks for having me, Kevin. Glad to be here. It's an honor. But yeah, basically like right now I'm working at the Alberta Obesity Center. So I'm a mental health specialist and really I'm only part-time there. So I'm doing about like 1 day a week on average of actual clinical practice. And then the rest of the week is working at Cherry Health.
Awesome. How many years have you been in practice?
I've been an adult since 2019. So we're coming up on like 4 here.
You've been a grown-up for a few years now.
Yeah, we're getting older.
You're like a pandemic baby.
Pretty much, yeah. Just before that, I actually had like a real job for about 7 months, and that's when things started to shift.
Yeah, there was a time when we didn't wear masks for every patient encounter. There was a time, Jordan.
I recall that briefly from residency, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I suppose there would have been some residency in med school before then. Okay, so tell me a little bit about where did you come up with this idea? And then what were your early steps that you took to build Cherry Health, right? Because clearly, you had an idea. How did you take those first steps?
So it evolved just out of solving selfishly like a problem that I had for myself. So after graduating, I was working as a locum physician. So I was doing locums, all around Calgary, Southern Alberta, rural, urban stuff. And then, so I really liked just the flexibility of like booking my shifts on short notice. So I would like do short notice coverage. I do like short-term coverage for a day, a week, a month, anything in that kind of ballpark. And it was really fun. It was really rewarding way to actually practice, like covering for people when they got sick, if somebody needed like last minute time off. Like it was very appreciated by like all the doctors in the clinics who I'd actually be, because that was like a very sorely needed thing. They didn't really have very many people that were willing to practice like that. But it had its pitfalls practicing that way, right? So it was kind of, if you want to cover short notice things, you have to leave your schedule open until short notice. So that resulted in like lots of downtime, lots of like days where I actually didn't have anything arranged. Not that, I really hated having a day off here and there, but like in terms of efficiency of just like...
quit bragging, Jordan. No, keep going.
That's you know what I mean? So it was
I know what you mean.
It got to the point where there'd be like down days, down weeks. I'd be picking up a shift at a time at some walk-in clinics, things like that. But anyways, like then the pandemic kicked in. Like I had only been working for 6-7 months because I had graduated the previous summer and then took like a month off. And then March came around and suddenly like nobody needed vacation coverage anymore. Nobody was going anywhere. Nothing was happening. People weren't actually even leaving their house. So 0 people were showing up to the walk-in center. And so now suddenly it got like even more of a stress and actual like issue to try and book things back to back on this short notice. And so the whole inspiration for Cherry Health kind of was a bit of a serendipity. Like I was actually just like hanging out with some friends at somebody's house one day. And then I met a guy who worked at a local, it's called a venture studio. So basically like what they do, instead of investing in startup companies, they invest their time and then they get a return of like a stake in the company. And so this guy, Maximilian Kurz, so I met up with this guy, Max Kurz, and he's a genius. So this is like what he does for a living at this venture studio. And we were kind of just like talking. He was telling me what he does. And I was like, that's super cool. Like just like the whole process of like innovating and coming up with new things. And like you have an idea, how do you actually get it off the ground? It's basically like consulting, but for startups and like implementing all these different strategies for growth and building like operations and things like that. And so I was like, that sounds super cool. Like it's the creative outlet and the actual ability to like think outside the box. I found that like a lot of the times in medicine, thinking outside the box seemed like a good avenue to like malpractice suits and losing your license. You're very much expected to think inside the box for a lot of things. So anyways, this just sounded like very foreign to me, like this whole premise of like how he operated. You'd show up to work one day on a Monday and you'd have really not necessarily an idea of what you'd actually do that week, because you kind of got to figure it out as you go. So we were kind of just talking, and I was like, hey, if anything medical comes across your desk, like drop me a line anytime. I'd love to like weigh in or hear what you guys have planned. And then the next week, he just called me up on the phone and he's like, do you have anything in healthcare, like problems that you yourself have or anything else, any ideas? And we kind of just started spitballing ideas. And it started out with, hey, I do all these locums and it's a pain to organize sequential work and high quality opportunities. And then next week, he called me back again and he'd put together like the most impressive, gigantic spreadsheet I'd ever seen. He's like, I think we can do something with this. I think this idea's got legs. That's really how it all started.
Wow. Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Serendipity, hey?
Love that. Okay. So we kind of know what it started as, but tell us what Cherry Health is right now for Canadian physicians.
Okay, so it started out with the locum perspective on it, right? So we had initially launched it just to tailor it to like connecting these temporary jobs. It's since expanded. So now it's all across the country. It's no longer just family doctors and it's no longer just locums. So now it's full-time, long-term jobs, part-term jobs, telehealth jobs, contracting jobs, any physician specialty, really all the provinces in Canada. So it's kind of like the one-stop employment shop now.
Love that. And then talk to us about where you're headed with Cherry Health. Like what's your dream or what do you want for Canadian physicians with Cherry Health?
So, okay, this is where the really interesting opportunity I think lies is we're building this network essentially, right? And so the backbone of this network currently is like predicated on employment, on jobs. And so the goal is to like start strengthening those connections between people. So right now they're looking for work opportunities. In the future, we want to start expanding it more into sharing research articles, into sharing medical news.
Oh wow.
So kind of becoming the one-stop kind of platform for digital physician networking in Canada. Like right now, there's not a whole lot of like infrastructure, like digital infrastructure for physicians in Canada. Like other countries, the US has Doximity, the UK has physicians.net, Japan has M3. It's essentially like LinkedIn for doctors, all these companies I'm describing. So that really is kind of the goal, right? So you take this network, kind of this core foundation that we're building that's founded around the employment thing, and then you start adding more tools, more widgets, more things on there to actually like help physicians make their lives easier, their jobs throughout the day, right? So that really is the value of the whole thing is you've got this collection of people and you can start putting on new tools, new utilities, all kinds of different stuff, resources, different articles, like how to optimize your billing, how to optimize your clinic workflow, connecting you with all the other innovations, all the other exciting things that are popping up in Canada.
So as you grow, how do you maintain the quality of what's on the platform? Because I think it's one thing, it's like, okay, I'm a clinic, I'm advertising a locum opportunity, I'm a locum physician, I'll sign up, Airbnb it, I get it, right? But how do you maintain quality? Is there a chat platform? Like what do you do in terms of that, right? Because I think one of the issues that we face in medicine, and I'm guilty of being part of that, is that we just throw so much information out there that it can be a little bit overwhelming for physicians. Like I kind of don't know what to do with the latest podcast episode on all of the different podcasts that I'm subscribed to, right? And so, so talk to us about like that, right? Like intentionality and finding some balance.
So one of the things we did initially, we actually had like ratings and reviews on there. So for like the different clinics. Now that was a bit of a like hot button topic. Yeah. Like there was a lot of physicians who were like, wow, this is a sorely needed thing. Like how many digital marketplaces do you interact with lately that don't have that on there, right? Like Uber, Airbnb.
Yeah, well, and you step into like that clinic and you like blow the dust off the paper charts, and you look in and you see like it's going to be a little bit of a long week for me.
So anyways, that feature did not get ported over to the new platform that we just updated and released. It may come back at some point this next little while. I don't know yet. But in terms of that quality otherwise, like that really is a big thing that I'm dealing with right now is like, we've got this very sophisticated tool, and how do you engage everybody to use it properly? Like, so we've been doing some webinars for some of the like local health associations recently, just on like how to recruit. And this included like a big focus on like how to create a job posting that was actually appealing. Yeah. So that's a lot on us, right?
Yeah. I'll be honest. Like when you flip the pages of most medical publications, it sounds a little dry, you know?
So what? Okay. Part of preparing for those webinars was actually one of the funnest things I saw was just looking through like some of the job ads on like the CMAJ and the CFP. And like those things are very expensive. It's like, I can't remember, but you get so many.
I've advertised on some of those.
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
Right. And so some of these job ads, like even though they paid all that money, they didn't even use up like the 80 words or whatever they were allowed to. It was like one sentence on like, hey, we have a clinic and we use this EMR. Like,
yeah, I think I was skipping spaces between words just to, you know, get my money's worth.
So a lot of it is like, you know, it's on us to like really educate people and provide them resources on like how to actually successfully recruit. Recruiting is a very complex, difficult thing. That's why there's these professionals that actually do this for a living. And so physicians and most of us medical people, you know, never had exposure to that. And then you have a clinic and you need to like, how do you choose office staff? How do you hire more physicians? It's just very foreign to a lot of people. So in terms of ensuring that quality, that's definitely a big part of it. It's like teaching people actually like what needs to be done. And there is a messaging platform in there as well to answer your other question. That's like coming out next week. I think that'll be updated finally. So we're super excited for that.
Very cool. So, okay. So going back to the core offering. So how does it work if you've got questions about the locum? Do you just like, is there a messaging way back and forth between you and the clinic, or do you just pick up the phone and call the clinic manager or the physician you're seeking to replace and just, you know, sort out the finer details there?
So it would just show you right away the contact details. You got one outgoing message. If you were interested, you got to put some text in there and then it would send a thing and show you the contact details. But again, as of like literally any day now, finally, we will have the messaging system implemented in there. So there'll be like peer-to-peer chat now. If you have questions, you can reach out. Very low pressure, low committal. You know, our generation of millennials and most of the people doing the locuming right now are a little, you know, afraid to pick up the phone and talk to a human. So text-based interface, it'll be nice.
Yeah, I got you.
No.
What is the fee model for the core offering?
So we got three things. Two of them haven't been released yet. The one that is on there so far, the partnerships model. So we actually have sponsorship deals with other companies that are doing really cool, innovative stuff in healthcare. Clinical tools, things that'll update your EMR workflow, things that'll help you engage with your patients, all kinds of different like actual things. It's all these things that you've never heard of, right? Because advertising in medicine is incredibly expensive, right? Like there's tons of big conglomerates out there with large budgets that will send reps to your office.
Well, we compete with big pharma. Big pharma writes the biggest checks. Yeah,
exactly. And so there's so much cool stuff out there that's happening that you've never heard of because these companies can't afford to have you hear of them in a lot of cases. So forming partnerships with them, like stuff that actually like adds value to the physicians' lives. And so that's like one of the fee models. And then just like any other LinkedIn, Indeed, you can upgrade your post. So that'll be coming very soon. You know, if you want it to be seen at the top of the pile, you can pay to play and get some more exposure, which, cool. You know, kind of the whole premise of the platform is that we really want to democratize recruiting, right? That's the thing right now is that most clinics, most organizations, they cannot afford to pay to play. And so that's why we have this very sophisticated freemium model where there's like a ton of value and ability to like get your jobs and your locums out there based on meritocracy as opposed to just purely like the relative size of your budget.
Wow. Isn't that great?
And then number 3 is the recruiter seat. So actually, if you want to like take that advanced functionality and really start doing the outreach, the active outreach to other people on the network, that's a paid feature. So those are kind of like the 3 things that fuel the Cherry Health network.
So Listen, I'm not going to sit there and poke and prod you too much longer about it. I would encourage everybody who's listening to this, like download the app. I did, and I love looking at it. I mean, I'm very, very much busy enough as it is in my existing position, but I can see how much better this is than trying to track it down through traditional publications, trying to track down a locum through traditional publications or word of mouth or whatever, right? And I think my big reflection on Cherry Health is that this is a massive productivity boost to the profession, right? Because at the beginning of this, Jordan, what you shared with us is your downtime, right? Here you are as a young physician wanting to be in practice, but wanting to take your time to find out what you really like and what you want to be doing rather than just jumping and joining a practice. And so this locum app, really allows you, Cherry Health really allows you to, as a physician, find, maybe the thing that fits the best for you. But as across the profession, you can see that this offers a ton of value, right? And it's not just, and I hate using the word productivity, like at Physician Empowerment, we're always ranting about, like, it is not about churning more output in a given day. It is about like living better, practicing your best medicine.
But that work-life balance and like
exactly, right? Like
it's huge. So there's a couple problems in medicine right now, right? Like there's the absolute lack of physicians,
only growing,
which is just a mess across everywhere. Yeah, only getting worse. And then there's the second thing, which is the actual like relative fraction of locums that are going around right now, right? So if you talk to anybody, there's just an absolute paucity of locums out there. Like it's a struggle to recruit anybody. So I think by making it easier, actually like making a big, giant digital shiny pipeline of locum work, a lot of the new grads are going to be, kind of drawn to actually practicing in that manner. And then we're going to have less burnt out physicians, right? So once we start actually balancing and making that match a little better of the established physicians versus the temporary relief coverage, like that's going to be huge to actually just cutting back all the doctors that are retiring early, cutting back their practice, moving away, taking time off, reducing their clinical hours, doing things that are non-medical, right? So that's going to be one of the biggest benefits of like, obviously not today, but like as the months and years roll on. Yeah.
No, long term, right? I mean, this is the next step, right? In the labor shortage that we have across this country, right? Because, we're not about to suddenly get more doctors to address the shortage, but having them deployed in a better, more efficient way really matters. And I think, again, reflecting on the other end of the spectrum, physicians that are late career and contemplating retirement, well, maybe they'll push that back if they can reliably get locums, right? Because if you can't get a locum and you're 60, I mean, 70-year-old doctor, which they're out there, I work with one, and you want to start slowing down, you want to start taking those vacations, and you realize like, well, if I can't get a locum, well, then I'm just going to shut down my practice and retire. So again, like there's just so many advantages here. And it's truly inspiring to see what you're doing, because I think it's a lot more than just a service, right? It's the opportunity to transform the profession and create better work-life balance for everybody, which we all need. That is a crisis within the profession. Absolutely a crisis within the profession.
100%.
Okay, so of course, like this, what did I tell you? 20, 25 minutes, and we keep going on and on. But tell me, Jordan, share some reflections about your journey thus far. Tell us a little bit about how you went from being a family medicine graduate to here you are as a physician entrepreneur, because we constantly at Physician Empowerment, we always have the physicians that are reaching out to us that they're developing something on their own, whether it's clinic-based or outside of medicine entirely, or health tech or whatever. But talk to us a little bit about your journey, some of your reflections, maybe a bit of wisdom along the way.
Well, it's kind of funny looking back in the rearview mirror, right? Like when we got started, like the company's almost 3 years old now, getting pretty close. Like, did I think I would be here today, like almost not doing hardly any clinical medicine 4 years after graduating my residency? Like, was that my intention from the get-go? Like, no, absolutely not. Right. Like I really enjoy, like, actually my Mondays where I see my patients most of the time is like one of my favorite days of the week. I actually really like healthcare, but it's just that they kind of evolved, right? And there was this window of opportunity to like really enact some significant systems change, and like it just kept getting bigger. So we've kept following it, and I've kind of been just tapering back my clinical practice. Like as needed by the company, right? It all started out like we won the Jewel, the Physician Innovation Prize in January 21 for physician health and wellness was the category, right? Just for this creating a tool to actually cut back on burnout and that work-life balance. And so that really catapulted things. Like that opened so many doors, like as a for-profit company, right? Like as a registered incorporation, like a lot of the time in healthcare, it's very difficult to actually like get meetings and get things done because it's like, oh, it's one of those evil corporations, right? But like having that actual endorsement coming from the top down of the regulatory body opens so many doors. So that immediately, like obviously the money was a huge like boost to just productivity and being able to like build more stuff and more technology. But that opens so many doors. And so leveraging that, like talking to more people, getting in with some of the like healthcare organizations, actually getting like more reach and more awareness of the system, got that going. We turned that into then some funding. So actually like we closed some private investor funding last year. So that really things just kept kind of skyrocketing past that point. Then we had more staff, more team members, everything just kept getting more sophisticated. Now we're up to, I think, like 7 full-time people. We've got a few interns and apprentices. We've got a job description posted right now, hiring for another marketing person. So things just continue to grow, and kind of that window of opportunity to like really do some good for Canadian healthcare system just keeps getting bigger. And so we keep just following it. But it's been a fun journey. It's definitely like very different from like all the normal doctory things we're used to doing, but it's been a really enjoyable journey. The people you meet, like going to the networking events and business minglers, meeting other people that are in the healthcare space. There actually is like a fairly well developed like innovation space in health tech, right? And actually, as of yesterday, we just found out that we've been accepted to a health accelerator program, like as the startup. I'm not allowed to name it, or embargo on. I don't know when this is coming out, when this will actually be published, but so we're super excited that we'll be working with some of the biggest, basically, agencies in healthcare in Alberta for the next few months on some of these things. So you just meet tons of interesting people that are doing all sorts of like really fascinating things, and it's very cool. Like I hadn't really seen any of that previously, right? You're kind of you got your blinders on of clinical operations and patient care and whatever the thing du jour is. But now that you take a step back and actually look at what's going on around us in the innovation system, there's so many interesting things happening.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Okay. We're going to wrap it up.
Yourself included, of course. Like obviously, like all the different projects that your company has on the go, all the stuff you guys are doing for physicians. Like exactly. That's how we match, right? It's just kind of like...
Yeah, honestly, I mean, a year and a half ago, somewhere around there, a little less than a year and a half ago, we were in Mexico teaching, doing our course. And like, if you'd asked me 5 years ago that I'd be lecturing in Mexico, at a beautiful resort, I wouldn't have believed it. And knock on wood, we're off to the Galapagos in early 2023 for a big CME tour. So we'll see how that goes.
That'll be a fun spot.
You'll get an invitation. I'll come shake you down.
Oh, perfect. Awesome.
All right. Good stuff. Let's wrap it up. Thank you so much. Again, everyone, this was Dr. Jordan Vollrath, founder of Cherry Health. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you so much for listening to the Physician Empowerment Podcast. If you're ready to take those next steps in transforming your practice, finances, or personal well-being, then come and join us at PhysEmpowerment.ca, PhysEmpowerment.ca, to learn more about how we can help. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd really appreciate it if you would share our podcast with a colleague or friend, and head over to Apple Podcasts to give us a 5-star rating and review. If you've got feedback, questions, or suggestions for future episode topics, we'd love to hear from you. If you want to join us and be interviewed and share some of your story, we'd absolutely love that as well. Please send me an email at kmailo@PhysEmpowerment.ca. Thank you again for listening. Bye.